Welcome everyone. In this video we're going to go through all 4 challenges from my while loops video, starting with challenge 1, where we are asked to ask the user a computer science question and they will not be allowed to continue until they get that question correct. So something similar to this we've done in the selection video, where we've asked the user a question or we've specifically asked the user their password and it will not let them enter the program, or it does a little message saying password incorrect. But this time it's going to ask them to re-enter that question, which is much more useful than just closing down the program. So let's think of a computer science question. We're going to start with a console.writeLine. Let's do a binary question. So what is the binary number 1001 in decimal or denary? So we're going to allow the user to input the answer. We're going to input it as a string, not console.writeLine. So we're going to go string user answer is equal to console.readline. I'm going to put it as a string because it just means I'm writing less code. I don't have to do the int.parse. So let's do this as an if statement first. So if we was to say if user answer equals it's 9, isn't it? I hope I've got that correct. 1, 8, yeah, 9. That would have been embarrassing if I got that incorrect. So if the answer equals 9, you have got this correct. Not quite what we want. So instead, we want them to get them to put it again if they have got it incorrect. So we want them to say if they have not got 9, so if it doesn't equal 9, then I want this to say let's say, please try again. And get them to input it again. So this will allow us to put this once. So if I was to, let's test this out, console.read key. So if I put, for example, 6, it will say, please try again. However, it doesn't actually allow us to try again. So if I was to put, for example, 9, then it will end the program. So that's not quite what we want them to do. So instead, what we want is this if statement. If we change this to a while, it will now repeat while the user answer is not equal to 9. So if you can do it as an if statement, all you need to do is change that if to a while, and now it will repeat. So that's the easiest way to think about how while loops work. So now if I don't put the right answer, please try again. 6, please try again, and now when I put 9, that is when the program ends. And may as well put a console.writeLine correct, just so the user can know when they've got the answer correct. Make sure we test that out. So incorrect, incorrect, and correct. There we go. Now challenge 3 actually uses this challenge, so I'm going to use this comment feature just to get rid of everything, and I'm going to bring it back for challenge 3 later. Challenge 2, however, asks us to do something very similar. So it's going to ask the user to input their age, and they need to input 18, otherwise it won't let them into the program. So let's use what I've already written, change it slightly. How old are you? Now this one, because we are comparing a number, we're going to have to put this as a integer. So we're going to call this user age, and we are going to have to surround this with an int.parse. So let's do the same method we did before. Let's do it as an if statement first, and then change it to a while loop. So let's double check what the challenge was actually asking us to do. So once the user has put an age greater than or equal to 18. So let's say if user age is less than 18, then we want to input, so that right line, so let's say error, you must be 18 to, not 18 or over to enter this program. And then we'll get them to do it again. I know it's very secure, just to get them to keep asking until they get it correct. So how old are you? We'll say 5. No, we're not allowed that. Let's do it again. We'll put a little message saying welcome. And we will put 18, and it should say welcome. Now again, just change that if statement to a while, and now it will allow us to repeat until we've got this correct. So how old are you? So if we put 4, no, 5, no, 6, no, and then once we put 18, so we've tested 18, let's test 20, and there we go. So challenge 3 was that we want to expand the first question to tell us how many times it took us to get the answer correct. So let's get rid of this second one and bring back the first question. And we're going to modify this slightly with a counter. So we're going to create a counter starting at 0. Every time, no, we're going to start it at 1 because that's at least one attempt. So I won't start it at 0. I'm going to start it at 1 because it's going to check this. If they already get it correct, we are going to say you took plus 1 plus counter attempts. Now if they took 1 attempt, that shouldn't be plural, so I might actually use an if statement to correct that in a bit. But inside the for loop, so we're going to say counter plus equals 1, so that's going to increase the counter by 1 every time we go through the for loop. And to make this even quicker, we can actually use counter plus plus, and that will increase it by 1 as well. So let's say we took a few attempts, so 1, 2, 3, and this is our 4th attempts. It took us 4 attempts. Now let's do an if statement in here that says if counter is equal to 1, instead of it saying attempts, we are going to say attempt. So you took 1 attempt, and then we'll put the attempts in the else statement, because if they took any other, if they took any other attempts, we want to have that as plural. So not actually asked in the challenge itself, just something I thought of. So let's make sure this works. So let's do 1 attempt, so that should be 9, and you can see correct, you took 1 attempt. Got a capital T in there for some reason. Let's get rid of that. And then let's take 2 attempts. There we go. So that's challenge 3 done. Final challenge is we want to recreate challenge 4 or 5 from the for loop section using a while loop instead of a for loop. Now this is a bit of a weird one, but I have seen previous GCSE exam papers for computer science where they've asked you to do a loop, but they've started the loop with a while loop, even though they're counting to a very set amount. They're counting in a definite amount. They've used a while loop to start you off. So it's always a good idea to know how to do a for loop within a while loop. So to help us out here, I have got the previous code, if I can find it. Where did I save it? Here it is. So this is the previous code for the final challenge. This was the Fibonacci sequence. Let's make sure this is working correctly. So that's our Fibonacci sequence. How can we do this in a while loop instead of a for loop? Well, if we change this to a while loop, a lot of this doesn't work anymore. So we need to create this integer above the while loop. So that integer goes above the while loop. This can actually stay. So while the I is less than or equal to 10, keep looping. We want it to do that. This I++ will move out of here because it no longer works here, and instead we're going to put it here instead. So very, very similar. Create the integer, set the condition of the integer to keep repeating until whatever the condition is, and then increase that integer by 1, and then it will work exactly the same way. Now, you don't actually have to use I, you can say number, and that will still work as well. So that is how you change a while loop into a for loop. So I'll show those steps again. So we've got our for loop, everything in the for loop, our initial value, our condition where we end, and increasing by 1. We move that, oops, so we set that to while, we move that out of our condition, we leave that one there, and we move the increase of our integer right here. And that will work exactly the same. Now, none of these challenges asked you to do a do while loop. So let's change this into a do while loop. So all a do while loop will do is, let's do that correctly. So all a do while loop will do is, instead of checking the condition at the beginning, it will check the condition at the end. Now that's going to have the, is that going to increase it by, so last time it ended in 89. I think that will mean it's going to end 1 less. Let's double check. Oh no, it works the same. So it's fine. So yeah, all a do while loop will do is check the condition at the end of the loop, and it has to go through this loop at least once. So there you go. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please give this video a like and give this video a subscribe. I will see you guys next time.